Welcome to Path to Peace with Todd Perlmutter. I'm your host, Todd Perlmutter. Our world is a projection of our collective consciousness. The more peace we bring into our lives, the more peace we bring into this world. So let the transformation begin. The reason we keep self-sabotaging is because fundamentally, we believe that there is a person in our brain, our true selves, our identity. And so when thoughts pop into our brain, we believe them and we give it a lot of weight and importance. And most of the time we act on those thoughts. And based on the nature of those thoughts, we create a perception of ourselves. We believe it's lazy. We believe that it's weak-willed, undisciplined, full of bad habits, negative, obsessive. But that's not how our brains and bodies work. In fact, we often think so negatively of this voice in our head. We see all of our flaws, none of our virtues, and we create a conflict with ourselves. And you cannot be in conflict with your true self because you are your true self. There is no relating to yourself. There is no perceiving yourself. Because that which perceives is your true self. And so to break that cycle of self-sabotage, we have to do three things. And step one is to disidentify with that voice in our head, to recognize that it is an imposter. When it tells us that lazy, conserving energy thought, which is really one of the main functions of our brain, is to conserve energy because we evolved in these difficult times through human history where conserving energy was essential to survival. There were no grocery stores or fast food restaurants. We weren't able to eat to obesity, to avoid swinging from trees and climbing trees, to running after animals and away from animals. And so it becomes vitally important in our modern times that when these thoughts come in that do not serve our highest good, do not come from our highest self, that they are relics from the past, that they have good intention, but we no longer need that outdated thinking. And it doesn't control us. And we don't have to let it ruin and run our lives. It may sound just like us, have our voice, talk in a similar manner, but that voice is 10,000 years old. It is a ghost. And the fact that it stops, and yet we continue to exist, is proof that it is not who we are. Our brain, just like our body, is an evolutionary survival mechanism. Our fear used to serve us. Times were scary. Invading tribes and tigers were just beyond the horizon. Fear, paranoia, obsession, and even division, fear of the unknown, and tribalism were useful tools for a while. But we can create new mental habits. We can break that chain and not pass it on to our kids and our community. Today, we can see on our phones what's over the horizon. We can read about what's happening on the other side of the world. And if a drought strikes one area, we can get food from another. So, in order to disidentify with that voice, we become aware of its nature, its motives, its conditioning. Without hatred, we just accept its presence. We, with gratitude, appreciate its protective tendencies. And we simply watch how thoughts come and go, how topics we obsess over quickly change to new topics. Everything comes and goes, arises and falls away, and we don't have to cling or resist to anything because it's always constantly changing. Something else is constantly grabbing our attention. Nothing stays for too long. And we just keep practicing not reacting to whatever pops into our head. And over time, it loses its energy and power over us. And they just become that background noise at a restaurant. Barely audible, barely having any impact on us, giving it no importance. Because that is all unconscious, unmindful, unintentional, habitual thinking that has nothing to do with our present reality and everything to do with our past. Our personal past, our genetic memory of the past, and separates us from this incredible moment, this perfect, peaceful, rich, and dynamic reality that we get to live in for a short time. And when we recognize this voice, when we remember that it is just a voice, not who we are, not our highest wisdom or intentions, then it cannot control us. It cannot create stress in our body. It cannot force us to do things we don't want to do or avoid things we know we should do. That only happens when we believe in the voice, when we believe it's who we are. A special voice, not just background noise, but that voice of God within us that we must act on and obey. But it does not take very long to observe that voice without distraction and realize that it doesn't always have our highest good in mind, that it can't be our true selves, and that we can witness it with complete non-reaction. Not just physically acting on it, but we don't even have to get angry about the craving or the anger. We don't have to get stressed about its worries and fears. We don't have to react in our body with a heightened heart rate or blood pressure. And we can just witness and remember that it is simply words in the void, coming and going, leaving no trace unless we cling to them, react to them, resist them, or give in to them. The second thing we can all do to help break that cycle of sabotage, and it even helps us disidentify with that voice in our head, is to observe and notice how that voice, it may sound like one voice, but it actually is a legislature, not a dictatorship. Notice how we may say to ourselves, I'm going to work out tomorrow. I'm going to work extra hard tomorrow. I'm going to get up early tomorrow. And then the time comes and a different voice says, let's hit the snooze button. Let's just skip work. Let's just eat our favorite junk foods. Let's obsess over something that's not important and overly negative. So we have multiple voices in our head, not one. We have that highest wisdom, that higher self that actually wants what's best for us. And then we have that lazy, negative self battling it out with each other. And sometimes one wins and sometimes the other wins. Sometimes one drowns out the other voice and we can't even hear that inner debate. It's just one comes in and plays on our desire, and we just can't even hear our own reason and wisdom. Oftentimes, we don't even get to hear the debate that happens on the subconscious level. And they're battling it out under the surface, and then a bad idea pops into our head, and we act on it because the thinking and debating has happened out of our awareness. And this is when we self-sabotage, and we don't even know what's happening until it's over. And similarly to step one, disidentifying with the voice, the more we just observe the thoughts with non-reaction, the more we're able to let that higher mind, which is the consciousness itself, choose wisely, rather than acting on the thoughts, the whims, the desires, as if we have no control, as if we have no choice in the matter, as if it is our puppet master. Maybe you pause. Maybe you wait a few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe an hour. And then you choose to eat the burger, eat the junk food, eat the chocolate cake. That is a conscious choice. We all want to enjoy life sometimes. We all need pleasures. Even The Rock, who is very fit, eats very strict, apparently one day a week eats 30 pancakes and 10 large pizzas and has these legendary cheat days. So here is a person who is very mindful of what he eats and has consciously chosen in a wise way to give into that inner voice that says, go crazy. And it works because he has balance, because he waited a week. He has control over when he gives up control. And because that inner voice never takes over his life. His higher self that makes the plan and has the discipline to stick to it is the one in charge. And that makes all the difference. That is when we recognize that there is a legislature within us, a Congress, and we elect the leader. We give more weight to the side that we know is the good side, the right side, the side that has our best interests at heart. And every now and then, we'll let the minority party form an alliance, and every now and then get their policy through. And through this legislature, with wisdom, with awareness, we can be certain, with the majority vote, that it is going to be done in a wise, responsible, thoughtful way. Which brings me to step 3, to break that cycle of self-sabotage, is to recognize those impulses, those varied voices within us, and to actually clearly define them and give them weight of importance accordingly, so that we can become our own drill sergeant. We can become our own therapist, our own parent, our own best friend who always gives us the best advice. It would be nice if everyone could have a life coach and a personal trainer and a nutritionist and a personal assistant and a wise guru sage to always be following us around, and just 24/7 this team of wise motivators could just tell us what to do in all times. But the beauty is we actually all have that. We all have access to that. We're not talking rocket science here. We are not needing some special intellect or information that only a few advanced specialists have. We are talking about common sense that every human has within them. It's like how we can all give our friend great advice, and then we can ignore it completely ourselves. But when we tap into that team of cheerleaders within us who have our best interest at heart, this is how we not just stop self-sabotaging, but we start to succeed in every aspect of our lives. And so when we need that drill sergeant, we can call on that drill sergeant. We can call on Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone, in that great motivating movie Rocky, to come yell at us to get out of bed and to get to the gym or go running or put down the donut. We can use our brain mindfully, intentionally, consciously. It doesn't just have to be random thoughts that pop into our head that are either desiring something we don't have that we want that may not be good for us, or resisting something we know we need to be doing, but maybe there's fear, maybe insecurity, maybe laziness. We can visualize and define these new voices, these better voices, these voices that actually can get us to where we want to be. We can nurture them. We can support them. We can use them to help us recognize whether the voice we're listening to is the one that is going to help us or hurt us. If we are making excuses or if we are making the right choices. So often, we harshly judge others for making excuses that we ourselves make. So the more that we can create and nourish and define these influences that affect our thinking and actions, the more we can recognize if they are the influences we want to follow or want to ignore. And we can recognize if our higher self is talking or if our saboteur, our double agent actively working to destroy us is the one who's running the show. And if it's that voice with that evil mustache and they're just twirling it or petting that cat like that James Bond villain, it becomes a lot easier to ignore that person, to fight against those thoughts, and to listen to that heroic, virtuous, kind voice within us that is actually looking out for our best interest. All those voices, they're doing their best, but they're not all the best for us. And it is the voice that you consciously create, that you intentionally think, that you instinctively know to be for your greatest good, that you can always trust, always identify, and always listen to. It may be hard sometimes. It may be quiet sometimes. It may feel like it's coming from your gut or your heart more than your head. But the more you practice listening, the more time you spend just watching that activity within, the easier it gets to spot the difference and to follow your heart. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your support at eastwesticism.org for this podcast. It keeps these shows going. I couldn't do it without you. And we together couldn't be putting out these life-changing, important teachings that I can tell from the comments that you all leave me are so helpful, so important, so necessary in our modern, chaotic lives. And from me and everyone these podcasts help, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Much love. Is there more to this universe than science can show us? Is there anything mystical or miraculous in the remote corners of the earth that I could see with my own two eyes? My newest book, Aloneness to Oneness, is that journey of discovery. From the rebellious kid who rejected it all, to the adult searching for something deeper, to the person I am today. It is all of the stories, wisdom, lessons, insights, and inspirations I gained on this adventure. If you've ever questioned, doubted, or wondered about the meaning of it all, this book is for you.